Hello, everyone. I'm really excited to tell you about something I've been working on for the past several years. As I've been going about my screen-used uniform studies and sewing patterns, I've also been working on color matching them and establishing dye recipes for the various fabrics. First in the lineup is a full range of wool gabardine fabric accents in all 8 Wrath of Khan-era division colors. What's so cool about this is I've matched every color directly to screen-used costumes or elements. Now, of course, some of these specific colors did change a bit over the course of the movies, and many of them do look different in person compared to how they looked on screen, but these fabrics and colors are absolutely the real deal. I'll tell you a little bit about each color, and then what I actually have for you. We'll start with the Command White, which is actually an off-white cream color that only looks white on camera. For this, I had multiple screen-used elements for reference, including the screen-used Monster Maroon shoulder strap pictured here. This one was tricky. Well, they were pretty much all tricky, somehow. Trying to get the right balance of not too white, not too yellow, not too ivory, not too gray or beige. Anyway, I'm really happy with this one. I think it looks just right. Of course, Command Division officers wore red stripes on their trousers, not white. These stripes were made of the same cavalry twill as their Monster Maroon jackets. Like a lot of people, the Monster Maroon is one of my costuming holy grails, and I'm particularly proud of how well this fabric turned out. This is the early Monster Maroon color from the Wrath of Khan, which was a bit darker and deeper than it was later on. It's a gorgeous color. And to preemptively answer your questions, I haven't worked up to dyeing a full jacket's worth yet, let alone taking on any dyeing commissions for it. One step at a time. The engineering gold was also matched to several screen-used elements. First was the engineering radiation suit I studied and posted about a while back, courtesy of Raymond Arsick. Then Steve Barnes was generous enough to loan me a jacket shoulder strap and sleeve band for reference. These were basically the same color as the engineering radiation suit accents. Obviously, the shoulder strap is pictured here. This is a beautiful warm gold. It's not as orange as early TNG, or as greenish as mid and especially late TNG. This is a bit of a softer gold, and not as deep. So I think this one turned out great. For the medical green, I had 2 screen-used elements for reference. The first was a near-mythical costume card, provided by Michael Cowart. The other was a screen-used shoulder strap, again from Steve Barnes. These 2 colors were pretty close, but they were slightly different side by side. The costume card was slightly grayer, whereas the shoulder strap was a tiny bit bluer. I did match both, but I like the color of the shoulder strap a little better, so that's what I wound up going with. This was a very delicate color balance to get right. Not too blue, not too yellow, not too deep, but also not too pale. With fabric dyeing, this is a good example of less is more. Personally, I think this is a terrific match to the screen-used shoulder strap. The Science's Gray was one of the most surprising and trickiest colors. It's probably one of the ones that's hardest to pin down going solely on screen caps, since it not only looked different throughout the movies, but the color itself definitely changed some too. Jonathan Janes was kind enough to lend me a screen-used sleeve band, and when I first saw it I was surprised at how absolutely neutral gray it was. Incidentally, it was actually a very close match to the motion picture gray, which was also a neutral gray that looked like a bluish gray in the movie. Neutral colors like gray can be really challenging to match because any change in the mix can tip the overall color balance pretty sharply in any given direction, so this one was definitely a relief, and particularly satisfying. For the trainee red, I had this screen-used shoulder strap, which I actually own. It came from the Greg Jean collection. There was an auction listing that included an assortment of various pieces like this, and the person who won the auction sold some of the individual pieces. I actually bought it specifically for the trainee red color, as a part of this whole color matching project. In his notes, Robert Fletcher described this color as flame red, and it definitely is. It's a rather loud, vibrant, orangey red. Yes, it really is as orange as it looks, especially in person. It really pops. I think this one turned out great, too. The security green was one of the more challenging colors to match, for 2 reasons. For this, I had a screen-used enlisted jumpsuit with security green accents for reference, again generously provided by Raymond Arsick. Strangely, the division accents on this uniform weren't wool, but jumbo spandex. I've never seen this on any other uniform. So matching across fibers, nylon to wool, was the first challenge. The second challenge was that this jumbo spandex was somehow a two-tone fabric. Most of it was definitely green, but it also had some magenta undertones to it from certain angles. I just aimed to match the overall read as closely as possible on my wool, and I'm really happy with how close I was able to get. The original color is a lot darker and grayer than I expected. If you're looking at this on your phone, it might even look black, but it is indeed a dark, warm green. The Special Services blue was another surprise. For this one, I had another screen-used sleeve band for reference, again provided by Jonathan Janes. It's a lovely, pale, grayish blue, or bluish gray might actually be a more accurate description. This color is sometimes mistaken for the Science's gray, and considering how bluish the Science's gray often looked in the movies, it's easy to understand why. Side by side, the two are obviously different colors, and it's easy to tell which is which, but if I saw this color in a vacuum, I might have assumed it was the Science's gray. This is another color that seems to have changed some over the movies, from a more turquoisey blue in Star Trek III to the grayish blue in Star Trek VI, which is what this is. This is another color that I'm really happy with how well it turned out. And finally, the Star Trek V Commando blue. This is the only one of the 8 division colors not established by Robert Fletcher himself, and for decades fans have debated exactly what this color represents, but that's another topic for another video. I just call it the Star Trek V Commando blue. For this one I was able to match to a screen-used Star Trek V costume, which was really neat. I'm looking forward to posting about that one. Steve Barnes was kind enough to lend it to me for study and color matching. This is a beautifully deep royal blue. Like most of the other colors, it's pretty dark. Honestly, whatever else might be said about Star Trek V, this is one of my favorite division colors. I don't know how much interest there is in these last few colors, but I worked really hard on them, so I hope you like them. Hope somebody does. Like I said, it's taken me years to successfully match all these colors to the level of quality that I was happy with them. Here's a quick slideshow of my test swatches for the Monster Maroon Red, Engineering Gold, Medical Green, Science's Gray and Special Services Blue, Trainee Red, Security Green, and Star Trek V Commando Blue. The real kicker was that I moved across the country, and then I had to recalibrate these recipes again. I don't know if it was the local water or the altitude or what, but that was a lot of work to redo. I shared my progress with a few friends and colleagues, but mostly kept quiet about it because I wanted to do them all and complete the set before going public about it. But here we are. I took the plunge and dyed some wool yardage, which was a little nerve-wracking because wool's not cheap. It's also exhausting because I have to stand on a chair constantly stirring a huge pot of boiling water for over an hour. I've never churned butter before, but I imagine this must be what it's like. But once it's all finished and dry, it's so satisfying. I cut all the yardages down into the various pieces and strips you need for a finished uniform, and they're available on my Tailors Gone Wild website. They are both officer and enlisted sets. Here's what you get. They come pre-cut and packaged for the uniform style you select. On the bag label, I actually give you some recommended thread colors to go with each division color. I post these online too, but I thought it'd be convenient to have them right here and save you some time thread hunting or combing through my blog. Both the officer and enlisted sets include a long rectangle for the sleeve band. This is 3.5 inches tall, which is a 1.5 inch finished sleeve band, doubled over on itself, with 1/4 inch seam allowance on the upper and lower edges. It's 18 inches long, which should be more than enough for a sleeve band. Even if you have big arms and huge sleeves, and you use a full inch of allowance on both ends, you probably won't need it all. It should also be enough if you want to do the version with the diagonal stripe too. The officer set comes with a large rectangle for the shoulder strap, 6 inches wide and 19 inches tall. This is plenty big for a shoulder strap, as you can see. Now this is a smaller women's shoulder strap, but I made sure the rectangle would be plenty big enough for a larger men's strap. I also made sure to leave enough room for the lower front allowance, which is several inches. You don't have to use that much, but I wanted there to be enough for you to use if you want to. The officer set also includes a pair of long strips for the stripes on the sides of the pant legs. These are 1.25 inch wide, which is for a 1/2 inch stripe, and 3/8 inch allowance pressed under on each edge. Most of these stripes are 48 inches long. This batch of Star Trek V Commando blue stripes are a little bit shorter, closer to 44 inches, but still plenty long enough for even a very tall person's pant legs. The command division stripes are wider. They're a full 2 inches wide, which allows you to make the wider flag officer stripes or the standard ones. Do note that the trainee red set does not come with the pant leg stripes, since cadets wore division-colored stripes on their trousers. The enlisted set also comes with a rectangle of fabric for the shoulder tabs. This rectangle is 6 inches by 4.5 inches, which is plenty big for a pair of shoulder tabs. Here's my shoulder tab pattern piece from my movie-era jumpsuit patterns. Again, note that the enlisted trainee set doesn't come with this piece, since trainees wore division-colored shoulder tabs. Obviously, all the other colors do, though. I've also cut some smaller rectangles for those of you interested in having contrasting stripes. Cadets and trainees had red sleeve bands with a diagonal stripe in the color of their intended division. Their shoulder stripes were solid red, though. Academy instructors had the opposite, like you saw on my screen-used shoulder strap. And as Robert Fletcher mentioned in his notes, department heads had the option of wearing their division color with contrasting white stripes, or a white base with contrasting division-colored stripes. This wasn't just for officers, either. There were a few enlisted crew with these. So anyway, these little rectangles are available for purchase individually. They're just barely big enough. I accidentally cut this first batch a little smaller than I'd like, but you can still fit a diagonal stripe on there. If I do any more fabric runs, I'll remember to cut them a little bigger. Again, these wool accent sets are available on my Tailors Gone Wild website. I only have a limited quantity of each, because wool's pricey and I can only dye so much of it at one time. If these sell quickly and there's enough interest, I may do more batches in the future, but for now this is all there is. But here's the other thing. The wool is premium priced for all the reasons I mentioned, but I also matched all these colors on cotton twill, which is a more budget-friendly fabric that looks very similar to wool gabardine. Unless you're a purist, I don't like using that term, but you know what I mean. For the purposes of these division-colored accents, it's basically just as good. The colors are all just as close as the wool. Here you can see the Command Cream, Engineering Gold, Medical Green, Sciences Gray, Trainee Red, Security Green, Special Services Blue, and Star Trek V Commando Blue. For the command trousers stripes, I dyed some cotton bull denim. It has a strong diagonal weave, like the wool cavalry twill. The cotton twill basically looks just as good as the wool gabardine, but it's less than half the price, because it both costs less than the wool for me to buy, and I can dye twice as much of it at a time. If you're hardcore about accuracy and authenticity to the original costumes and stuff, then the wool is the obvious choice. But if you just want some great colors that are easier on your wallet, the cotton fabrics are a great alternative. Whichever you choose, I'm really excited to be able to offer you these fabrics. As far as I know, this is unprecedented in the community. To have a full range of fabrics available in every division color, all matched directly to screen-used pieces. I want to again thank Steve Barnes, Ray Minarsik, Jonathan Janes, and Michael Cowart for helping make this project possible. I also want to thank John Broughton, the dynamo behind Farragut Ford, for putting me in touch with Jonathan and for his general support. Whether you're making your own uniform, having one commissioned, or you already own one and just want to upgrade the accents, these fabrics will help you take your uniform to the next level. These fabrics have all been pre-washed, pre-shrunk, and will not bleed. I use the proper chemical fixatives so the dyes are literally bonded to the fibers at the molecular level, so you don't have to worry about anything bleeding. So, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're as excited about this as I am, and I will catch you again in the next video.